All right, I wanted to quickly demonstrate a really good front-end environment when working with AEM. It really removes the whole process of thinking about Maven or builds. You can just save your HTML, you can save your dialogues, you can save your client libs, and refresh your page. So we're in the UI apps folder, and so we can just hit npm run AEM libs. And so it's telling us that it's watching the files, and then we're going to say npm run AEMSync. And so we're just running those two things. And if we look at our page, we actually have this component right here. And this component is just a regular old HTML component, but it actually maps to a React component. And so we actually pass in data attributes from HTML, from the dialog, from the JCR, and then over into React. And so this is actually in a broken state, and that's kind of the point of this, is to show how you can be productive and you can just kind of work without having to think too much about the process or the development process. So you'll see if I have hello world here, and if I click OK, we'll see that that properly gets mapped to that React component, so it actually renders that. So if we hit preview and we inspect this, we can see that the H1 correctly renders and we see the H2 correctly renders. But we want to do that on page refresh. Right now that's not, that's in a broken state. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of do, we're going to say const tab control nodes. So these are the actual server side or HTML rendered elements. So we'll just say document get elements by tag name. And we'll say tab control. And we're using Babel, so we can use ES6, and it'll work on everything from Internet Explorer 11, Microsoft Edge, Chrome, Safari. And so we'll just say console.log tab control nodes. That'll autocomplete. And because we're using ESLint, it actually flags us that with a warning that says, oh, we should not be using console.log, because we don't want something like that to be in production. So we'll just refresh and we'll look at our console. And we can see that there's an HTML collection of tab controls. So there they are. And you'll see that there's nothing in there. We have that data attribute of hello world, but we have that H2. And so there's no test class. And if we were to look at our React control, we would see that there should be a test here. Or we could even say a test subtitle, maybe. And so again, we go back, and if we refresh and we edit this just to kind of prove the point, go into edit mode, hit this, hit OK, preview, inspect, test subtitle. So that, of course, came from our React component. But again, we want this component to be converted into a React component and instantiated on page load. So that's what we'll do. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our app.js. Normally we wouldn't want to put it here, but we'll just say tab control nodes for each, and we'll just say node, and we have nice arrow syntax, and we'll just say console.log node. And again, we'll just make sure that it iterates exactly the way we want it to. So it should list out the node itself. Looks like we don't have for each. Ooh. So let's do this. Let's do get query selector all, and then that should give us a node list. And if we refresh, there's our node list, and so we could iterate through. And so what we can do is this tab control, we can actually just create new tab controls with this. So what we can actually do is we can say tab control dot render and tab, and render it with that server side or HTML rendered node. So now if we refresh this page, there it is. It just automatically wires up for us. So that's great, but we're missing that subtitle. We don't have the ability to put in that subtitle right now. So we have this dialog here, and we have the title, of course. So if we say, maybe we say, hello AEM, course, that automatically updates, but we don't have that ability to set the subtitle. So let's go fix that. If I look at my, let's go to tab control.html, we can see that that H2 is in here, and so we have the subtitle, and then it defaults out. So we need to add subtitles. So we just go to our dialog. We'll copy this title, and of course we'll put this in here, and just do this, and we'll say subtitle, and let's just make this a little more friendly. So we'll just say sub. And without even refreshing our page, we click on it, and there's our subtitle. So we can say, my special subtitle. And boom, there it is. And if we look at this, and we say, okay, well, this is an H2. Again, just to prove a point, we have H2 here. If we want to move over and go into our tab control, and we decide, oh, we don't want an H2, maybe we want a H3. So we'll just change that. Again, inside our React component, and hit save, back, refresh, and we preview it, and if we look, we'll see that that's an H3. And that came from server-side rendered HTML into our ES6, so we can have all the fancy classes and nice APIs of ES6, and then into React, of course. That's my demo.